Apple Gift Card is a practical gift that unlocks a world of entertainment and fun. You can send it via email or give a physical card to your loved ones. Your friends and family can spend it on their favorite Apple services, including Apple subscriptions. Apple Gift Card can be used to buy all things Apple. Products, accessories, apps, games, movies, TV shows, iCloud Plus, and more. Visit apple.com for details and to send Apple Gift Cards to your friends and family this holiday season.
Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to another episode of the TMossBoss Show, and in today's episode, I wanted to talk more on the topic of being lonely. You know, I feel like a lot of people deal with being lonely. I know I've dealt with it. I know people that have dealt with it, and there's probably people that I know that aren't open about it, but they've dealt with it. So, you guys see it as that, you know, to like people that deal with loneliness, you guys see it as that the most popular people in the world has most likely felt lonely, all the way down to like the least popular person in the world. They dealt with loneliness. A lot of people have dealt with it. So it's like, if you think for a second you're the only one, like you're seeing all these people surrounding you. There's people that's probably in relationships feeling lonely. There's people probably like multiple groups of friends that feel lonely, and that's the thing where it's like, you know, you want to just overall find that person that can cancel that all out. That just, you know, they're there for you. Like, you don't have to worry about like that stuff anymore. And eventually you will find that person. Don't think for a second it's like you're going to go through your whole life and not find. And that's why I feel like that, you know, the one that's dealing with the loneliness, like you got to keep your eyes open for the people that want to be there in your life. There's at times where I feel like I've made that mistake, where, you know, just getting caught up in my feelings or getting caught up in my insecurities, depression, and everything else that's wrong with me. And there were people in my life that wanted to be there, but dealing with my own problems, I ignored it. And so overall, I do feel like a part of me, I messed that up heavily. And I'm like, and there's people out there, I'm like, dang, you know, you wish you could kind of go back in time and change things, but it's too late. So now I gotta sit here and suffer. Now I gotta sit here and wait until the next time I have an opportunity. And believe me, when I do have that opportunity, I will not let it go. But I'm dealing with it. And, you know, I've managed to just, you know, I managed to get to a point where I'm like, hey, you know what? It's here. It ain't gonna go nowhere no time soon. If I wake up tomorrow and I meet the person that cancels all that stuff out, I'm like, thank God it is now over. But most likely that's not going to happen. And you know what? I'm going to have to do what I did yesterday. Go through the day. Focus on myself. Focus on and that's like the one thing that I want to talk on is like, you know, when you focus on yourself, you really don't care about being lonely and things. And let me just overall tell you guys like my whole adventure with this pandemic and stuff. So as soon as the pandemic has started, you know, there's a lot of different, you know, emotions that I was feeling. And I feel like one of the things that did get to me was being lonely. And there was some stuff that went down in my life, and I truly did feel alone. Like, I honestly, I felt like I was in an empty room by myself. And then with this pandemic starting, I really was in an empty room. Like, I got to see what it looked like firsthand to be in a room by yourself with literally nobody there for you, nobody there with you. It's like nobody to share laughs with, share smiles with, nobody to make memories with. I am there in my room by myself. So I had to deal with that. And trust me, it was hard. At first, it was hard. I'm telling you, like sitting there crying, freaking, what else was I doing? Bro, I was like, man, I can't deal with this. And the crazy thing about it, I have friends, I have family, but I still felt alone. Like that loneliness thing, it's like the crazy thing about it is like you can be surrounded by everybody you need to be surrounded by, but still feel alone. So, throughout this pandemic, what did I do? Like, what at least for my fans, what did you guys see from me? I started pushing out content. I started focusing on myself. I started focusing on YouTube. Putting out as much content. That's why it was like some months I was posting a couple of 100 videos to overall take my mind off of that stuff. And that's what you have to do. You have to take your mind off of that stuff. because it's like, it's honestly, it is going to eat at your brain. And it's still, and that's the crazy thing about it. And I'm sitting here, I'm doing this like motivational episode about being lonely. I still feel lonely. That stuff still eats at my brain. I still be having nights where I'm like, man, like, dang, I just wish I could just at least like have a hug or something to like know like I'm not alone. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like I guess I can't have that stuff. And maybe it's some things I did in my past that it's like I need to apologize for. I feel like I have, but I feel like I probably need to do more. But and that's the thing where it's like, it's just, I feel like that's like the overthinking like factor like coming in, where it's like, I do, feel bad for like things I did like in a much more like younger days. I feel like I've said and done things where I'm like, man, I now I like think on it and like regret it, and I'm like, dang, is that like the reason why I'm alone? Because I'm like, maybe did I put people in this situation where they felt alone? Like, if that's the case, then I'm like, man, God, like, I am sorry. Like, I did not mean for anybody to feel like that. I didn't mean to, do that to anybody. But if I did, then I'm like, man, like, I wish I could have the opportunity. I'm like, forget being alone. I wish I could have the opportunity to sit that person down and apologize to them. Like, that's, I'm like, let them, like, get involved in my life so I can, like, sit down and just have a conversation with them and stuff. But I'm like, that's the thing. I don't know. I'm not gonna be this person where I'm like, saying that I've hurt so many different people and things. I'm like, I hope and pray to God that I didn't. But like, if I did, then I'm like, I truly am sorry. But it's one of those things where I'm like, I gotta live with that at the end of the day. So I'm like, I hope and pray that they don't have to live with anything. It's like, if I did do anything to them, I hope and pray they don't have to live with that. I hope and pray that they've moved on, they've grown out of it, that they developed a mindset to where it's like, hey, you know what, that was in the past, I'm gonna become a bigger and better person. So I'm like, and that's, what I'm overall working on doing in things. I'm like, and I don't know, I just, my whole life though, I'm like, the thing is like, I've always felt like a second place person. And it's like, not even a second place person, I felt like a last place person at times, where it's like, I just, times I don't even feel like I'm here. I just feel like I'm just like, I feel like I'm surrounded by people, but I'm like, they don't even know that I'm here. I be feeling like invisible. I be, at times, I'm like, dang, I be like checking for my heartbeat in post, because I'm like, hey, am I like on some like Patrick Swayze like ghost type stuff or something? Like, what? Let me just like tap this person on the shoulder and see if I'm still here, because I'm like, hey, yo, what's going on right now? But say times, and it's like, even being surrounded by like friends, seeing them, that's like, I got like one of my closest friends, he's getting married, and I'm like, that's like one thing where it's like, I'm not like jealous about it, I'm not like mad about it, but I'm like, dang, I kind of wish that was me. It's like, and that's the thing, I'm like, I know I'm probably gonna end up going to that wedding, I'm gonna probably just be there by myself, like, support him, of course. I'm like, that's my friend, that's my brother. I'm like, I ain't gonna, let my, freaking like the problems I gotta deal with on a regular get in the way of that. I'm like, that day, and that day is gonna be a day of celebration. I'm like, all my problems, that's just gonna be pushed aside. I'm like, or I'm just gonna have to, scream in silence, like dealing with any things. But I'm like, no, that's his day. I'm like, gonna throw that in his face. I'm like, oh, but what about my, like, no, I ain't doing that. I'm like, that'd just be messed up. That'd just be rude. So, anyways, but yeah, it's like, it's stuff like that where it's like, be seeing friends of mine's like getting married, starting families, like, just doing it's like seeing that, I'm like, dang, man, like, I really want that. Like, I be working, like, even right now, it's like freaking 3 a.m. and I'm like recording a podcast episode and videos and working on videos and stuff, working towards that. But I feel like the one thing that I am working towards is just more loneliness. That's like one thing that I've been like imagining for years, is that I'm in this like big fancy looking house. And originally, when I had started having these thoughts, I was like, I honestly, it was like I wouldn't really call it a nightmare, but it was just something where I'm like, bro, I really don't hope. It's like, I really hope that my life isn't like that, where I'm like in some big fancy looking house, and I'm like, bro, is that really gonna be my life? And then like now, like I'm I still kind of have that thought, but then also I have like thoughts where I'm like, hey, I'm just embracing that stuff. I'm just like, I'm embracing my life of like loneliness. I guess like as you get older, you just kind of realize like, hey, if that stuff happens, that stuff happens, and you just gotta like roll with it and things. But Yeah, it's like the life that I be imagining. I'm like, that's one thing I really just don't like is imagining like my future life. I'm like, if that stuff ain't going on now, I don't want to think about it. Cause I'm like, man, it's I like with YouTube and freaking it's like all that stuff, and I'm like thinking, I'm like that's what I'm like the life I imagine. I'm like YouTube's going good. I got a big fancy looking house. I got my dream cars like sitting in the garage and stuff. I'm just going out and about, just living life, doing my thing. And then there'd be at times where I'd be thinking like, oh, maybe I like on like just one of my adventurous days, just just living life. Like then that's why I like. Then that's why I'll meet my girlfriend, meet my wife, build a family and all that stuff. And I'm like, I hate thinking on that because I'm like, it's something that's not happening now. So I'm like, my thing is like, instead of thinking on it, I'd rather just work towards it without thinking on it. Like it's a thing that just happens naturally. But it's just one of those things where I'm like, bruh, it's like overthinking. I'm like, that's one thing, like, when being lonely, it's like you think a lot. Like, fam, like, oh my God, like, if I probably, like, if thinking, like, if you can take, like, your, like, thought process out and, like, put it on a DVD or put it on, like, a freaking, like, memory card or whatever, like, bruh, I had, like, terabytes, okay, terabytes, like probably multiple like memory cards, freaking everything's just my thoughts, just probably the same thoughts over and over again, probably just everything that I've been thinking for like, let's see how long now, probably ever since I was a kid. Like, man, I'm telling you, it's just there's been a lot of nights where I'm like, bruh, like, like it's just dreams like that's, dreams like most people would see it as like a beautiful dream. I'm like, them beautiful dreams to me is just nightmares because I'm like, it's something that, like, I'm gonna wake up and just be like, that's not happening. That's not real. That's not reality. It's a dream. It's my imagination. And I'm like, that type of stuff. I'm like, I like to really talk on it. It's not fun. It's not something that I was like, bro, I'm telling you, I was like, there was at one point in time where, and it was like last year where I just kept having like dream after dream after dream where it was like it just had me thinking, I'm like, I really want that life. And I'm probably in, well, like obviously at the time being I was like, yeah, I'm super far away from it, and now I feel like I'm not further away, but I feel like I'm like a little bit closer to that lifestyle. But yeah, it's like having all these different dreams, and it's like it was just like I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. There was that point in time where I didn't even want to sleep because I'm like, there's just all these like, like beautiful looking dreams, and then having actual legit nightmares, like something that I would consider a nightmare. But yeah, it was like it was torture. Like last year, I had to say last year is probably like I had to say it was good to a certain extent, but at the same time, it was just kind of like it was just torture. Just being in my mindset, and I'm like, man, loneliness is something that I wouldn't wish on anybody. My worst enemies, like that type of pain. I'm like, that's something where I'm like, hey, yo, like if you are feeling lonely, I'm like, reach out, talk to people. I don't care who it is, like talk to somebody. But yeah, loneliness is crazy. Like it's somewhere I'm like, I tried turning this into a motivational episode, but I kind of just got caught up talking on myself because it's like with doing this episode, I'm like, I am gonna have to talk on myself at some point in time. So but yeah, like, but I had to say, like, if you ask me like now where am I mentally with loneliness, and I'm like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I don't care to a certain extent, and I'm still like doing my thing, like I'm still doing YouTube, Twitch streaming, like I'm just doing more and more stuff to take my mind off of it, and that's probably the one thing that like that keeps me going, like that's like helping me and stuff and curing me slowly is just like not thinking about it, put myself in a situation where I'm like, okay, I gotta record some videos, or I gotta work on some videos, I gotta live stream, I gotta come up with some stuff to post on TikTok, I gotta come up with something, so I'm like, I'm it's a work in progress. I'm not gonna say that I'm like perfect, or I'm in a, I would say that I'm in a better point in time in my life, but I ain't gonna say that it's a point in time in my life that I want to be at. But I should be grateful where I'm like, I'm not where I used to be at in things, but because I'm like, there's people that's not, that wishes where they wish that they was at a point in time where I was at last year, where it's like you was like somewhat improved. There's people that's doing far more worse than me. So that's how I gotta see, that's like how I gotta see it. But yeah, man, I'm like, life is crazy at some point in times, and I just kind of wish, like, it would just stop a little bit. Like, can I just have a moment in time where I know I'm not alone. Like, I know I got somebody there. But even it's like, people, that's the thing. I'm like, and that's why I'm like, I gotta sit down and start thinking myself. I'm like, people, when they talk on them being lonely and things, I'm like, I try to give out the best, like, motivation and stuff that I can, but I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, is that stuff really working? Do they feel better? I'm like, I don't know if they do or not, but if they do, then I'm glad I was able to do something to help them. But I'm like, still, it was like, people, when they like try to help me on that stuff, I'm like, I ain't gonna, like, I'm gonna thank them, I'm gonna be grateful, but I'm like, at the end of the day, it's like, I still gonna have to go to sleep, put myself in a position where I might have like a nightmare or something, might have a bad dream or whatever, wake up and I'm just like, man, I'm just all out of it. So, and then I gotta like get in a position where I'm like, okay, put that to the side, Twitch streaming, YouTube, I gotta put on this like smile and put on this laugh. And I'm like, bruh, it's like, at times I'm like, some of that stuff don't even be truthful. So, but I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. Like I said, like I'm doing a lot better than I was last year. So I am thankful for that. I am thankful that I'm in a much more better situation. I might not sound thankful, but trust me, I am. I don't want to be in a position where I'm like crying myself to sleep or crying my eyes out and stuff. So, but anyways, till next time, I guess I'll talk to y'all later. I feel like I should do like a part 2 to this. Have it where it's like less depressing and but just let people know, like, hey, when when you're thinking along the like how what everything that I just said, you're not alone. Like, so like loneliness is like loneliness. It is gonna exist, but I'm trying to work on to make it where it's kind of like the word impossible. Where it just doesn't exist anymore. Where I'm putting out like that motivation, because I do feel like that you can make something like loneliness disappear, because I feel like that's one thing I do feel like that I made the word impossible disappear. A lot of people would say that that's impossible to make the word impossible disappear, but I'm like, why people go around be saying anything is possible? So that's how I'm gonna see loneliness, and I'm like, it ain't gonna last forever. It is possible to stop feeling that way. So, and I'm like, and I'm definitely not gonna be like, oh, it's impossible, like I'm always gonna feel lonely. No, that's not gonna be the case. Eventually, at some point in time, and I'm hoping and I'm praying to God that is soon, because I'm like, I am tired. But there's gonna be a point in time where I do find the girlfriend, wife, family, the whole lifestyle that I'm looking for. And I feel like at that point in time in my life, I'm going to truthfully be happy. And when that day does come, I'm like, that's probably gonna be the day where I feel like I'm gonna cry tears of joy. I've never cried tears of joy before in my life, so I feel like that's gonna be the point in time in my life where I do. So I'm prepared for that day. I'm not prepared. I don't even want to be prepared. I want to cry my eyes out hard, but I want it to be tears of joy. I want to just be able to just like look at my family and just hug them and be happy. So I'm looking forward to that day. All right. But anyways, till next time, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. I probably might do a part 2 on this. Have it where it's a little bit more motivating and positive instead of just kind of like, I feel like this is just more so just telling my life story and stuff. But I tried to turn it into something, but I'm like, it didn't. Mission failed. We'll get it next time. But anyways, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. If you're viewing this on YouTube, make sure you like and subscribe. If you're viewing this on the podcast streaming service, make sure you follow or subscribe, however it's set up. I've been getting emails from this one platform that I guess my podcast was posted on, where it's deleting the episode. So I'm like, if you guys are noticing that, I'm slowly like posting the episodes on the YouTube channel. So, yeah, just subscribe to the YouTube channel for my podcast, the TMossBoss Show, and that all the episodes will be posted on there and stuff. So, anyways, but yeah, do that. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you guys are following me on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook at TMossBoss. And yeah, until next time, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching and or listening, and peace.